Doug Olds, our next presenter. Hasty Combustion, Root Causes of Global Heating and What We Can Do About It.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Some of you know, I think the masterclass members know, that I've written a dissertation on leading community organizations, specifically churches, to take a leadership role on global heating and climate injustice. And the dissertation was passed. My background is as a minister, but I also was a PhD candidate in environmental policy 20 years ago, focusing on global warming issues back at the time. So to write this current dissertation, I had to catch up on 20 years of science and thinking on the issue, and then situate it within a ministry approach, which is what I did in my dissertation. The responses have been very positive. So my idea for a project for EFM is to offer a community education course at the College of Marin, which is basically to offer the secular components, the non-religious, non-biblical components of my dissertation, but to also situate the findings, the systemic analyses of my dissertation within a method of instruction that is intended to bring about commitments and maybe even some values clarification that can allow for increasing social activation. So that's kind of the outline of the course, and now I kind of want to go through. I'm not going to give a lot of detail on what the course will teach, other than kind of the broad outlines of how I intend to instruct the class if it's accepted by College of Marin. But if you are interested in the details, just go ahead and either email me or chat me, and I can send you relevant portions from the dissertation that talk about the actual content that I'm going to present. Next slide. So the course description that I'm going to publicize with College of Marin, if they accept the course, is that it's an introduction to the ethical, the political, economic, and the historical dimensions and the socio-historical dimensions in society that drive global heating. And I'll consider justice issues, equity issues, and also efficiency issues from economics on how to contain the crisis. So we'll do some looking at individual lifestyle practices, but I'm much more interested in kind of macro systemic analysis that would ground the ideas on how to activate socially, and also we will discuss some of the policy ideas that I generated in my dissertation. Next slide, please. So the course objectives, we would start out with individual analyses. We would look at the emissions. We would quantify individual sources of emissions. We would prioritize the way we can change our lifestyles to reduce emissions. But the meat of the course is really an analysis of systems, political economic systems, historical and societal roots, to become aware of the network's assumptions and actions beyond consumer choice of technology. I find that most of the reporting on this issue culturally and in journalism focuses basically on consumer technological change, and I want to go beyond that and focus more on a macroeconomic and systems analysis. And then take that system analysis and strategize about how activism can proceed from that analysis. And then also a specific macro policy issue that I would introduce is to understand the difference, and it's a very broad discussion of the difference between a carbon tax and cap and trade. Next slide, please.
Oops.
So as I mentioned, I want to investigate the political economy of combustion and their conceptual and social histories. I want to analyze complex social networks to reveal how environmental harms are obscured or ignored globally and locally. I want people to be able to scope their personal lifestyle emissions and engage in a critique just beyond consumer adjustments. And I want to promote and motivate creative networking and resistance based on the discussions we have in our course. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, Doug, your 5 minutes are up, but why don't you take a minute or two to complete your thoughts?
Okay, so the idea is there'll be lectures, guest speakers. I also have experience in my project for my dissertation on exercises of community building, guided processing, also research into activist networks and climate change activism. Next slide. And so this is the classroom content. I don't want to go through this. The way the College of Marin is set up is that it's a 14-hour, 7-week normal class, and so I've come up with 14 units. The first half of the course is describing what's going on systemically and economically, and then part 2 of the class is looking at taking the analysis and strategizing about how to address social activation and make policy changes as well as individual changes. And again, if any of these topics are interesting to you, please email me and I can send you actual details. But the project is actually the course. It's not the presentation of the content here. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. That's very interesting. And as you know, I do want to talk to you about how we might be able to bring a component of your curriculum